everybody, this is Strategywizard again, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Pandemic: The Cure. This is published by Z-Man Games, designed by Matt Leacock, and it's for ages 8 plus, 2 to 5 players, 30 minutes. This is a game that's, of course, based on the original board game Pandemic, which I have to say I've never played, even though I know it's really popular. It's never been something that I felt really compelled to try, and this popped up on my radar partly because it's dice-driven, and I've found that I am a fan of dice-driven cooperative games, so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to try a Pandemic game, this is the one I want to try. So this is a game that is about dice, and when I say dice, I mean there's just dice. There's just a dice bag with a bunch of dice right here. There's dice over here. I mean, there's just dice everywhere. There are cards and there's other little pieces, but largely speaking, this is a dice game. So tons of custom dice and all these other little things going on. Let's go ahead and see how we're going to play this game. So the initial setup is very basic. You're going to have these 6 discs that have the die faces of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way in a circle around this central donut. Can't help thinking of food, I guess, right now. And basically, these represent important regions on Earth where there's going to be outbreaks of diseases that you're trying to find cures for. We have a card that will be for showing what diseases have been cured. We have the CDC here, which I'll explain later. And then we have all of our pawns, and we have these little syringe pieces that you're going to put in specific spots, here for the outbreak track, here for the infection track. And people are going to choose what character they want to be. Actually, the instructions don't let you choose. I like to choose, but the instructions will tell you to deal out a random character card to each player, and once you do so, you're ready to get started. You'll put whichever character you are, you'll put it, everyone starts in America, which is number 1, so however many people are playing, they'll put their pawns there to start. Next, we're going to grab some dice. So, you reach in here, randomly find 12, and you're going to roll them. Okay, the pluses you will re-roll. All of these dice they look, on the face of it, they look like they're just regular dice, but they're all custom. Not only do they have this plus sign, but they don't have just look, there's 2 6s. There's a 1, there's a 2, and there's a 3. So each different color, you'll even notice here on these discs, this has black and 1 black and 2 yellows. This has a red, yellow, and a black. This has 2 reds, 2 blues. That shows you a quick way of seeing what the general distribution is going to be of each different location. So black will have a good high likelihood of being in the 3 area. Let's see, there's a 3, there's another 3, and there's another 3. So there's 3 3s here, which is why there's 3 black spots here. It's very common for black dice to go there. So let's go ahead and finish this up. So you're going to roll these dice. You're going to start, and you're going to re-roll the pluses. You're going to say, oh, there's a 6, there's a 6. Here's some 3s over here. We have a 2, we have a 1, then you're going to roll more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 more. I need 1 more. So we're going to roll all these, and then re-roll the pluses. Okay, another 6, a 5, a 4, 2, 1, and a 3. Okay, so now you have the default infections set up on the board. This basically shows you where all the danger zones are. Places that have a lot of the same color are particularly dangerous, but any place that has a lot of dice is dangerous itself. It's just the more of the same color is even worse, and I'll explain why shortly. But the other part of the setup, you're going to have these cards right here. You have a deck of these event cards. These events are things that are always good that you can spend the pluses for whenever, at a later point in the game when you roll these pluses, you can use them for these actions. And you'll have 3 of these available to spend, or to buy, whatever you want to call it, immediately. And as you spend by, you'll replace them with more cards. So everyone will also have a handy little player aid, which tells you what the major die faces are on your custom dice. So let's just say right here we have blue, orange, and pink. That would mean that we had the dispatcher, who's pink. We would have let's put them up here. We would have the contingency planner, which is the light blue. And we would also have the medic, who's the orange character. Now, the important thing to know here, and this is what's interesting, I love these cards because they do a great job of showing you everything you need to know. Not only does it show what the distribution of die faces are for your character, tells you what your ability is that makes you special, so apart from the dice themselves. So here's the deal. So now we have these characters. Each person is going to choose the dice from their color. The blue guy gets his blue dice. Everyone gets 5 dice except for the gray one I just showed you, the generalist. The generalist starts with 7, but everyone else has 5. So everyone would grab their dice that they need for their character, and then you're ready to play. So let's go ahead and see how you go about curing these diseases. Okay, I'm not going to go over every rule, but I'm going to go over the gist of this, of how you cure these diseases to win the game. Curing the diseases is going to mainly involve these dice. So you're going to roll them on your turn. Let's say blue goes first, and he's going to look at these and he's going to go, what do I want to do with these different results? Now here's the problem. If you roll the biohazard symbol, you immediately have to set that aside. You can't re-roll it, and this little guy is going to move up, pegging along, and that's bad. Here's the thing. We're starting on easy. This would be standard if you started here, and this would be hardcore if you wanted to start here. If you get all the way to this skull and crossbones, you can pretty much imagine that means you're dead. The outbreak's horrible. There's too many infections. You can't control it. The world's doomed. Well, so you really don't want to roll these. You can't. They lock you up, and you're toast. And this track right here shows you some dice. The first ones show 3 dice, then 4, then 5, and the higher that is, the worse. And I'll show you that at the end of the turn what that means. But the point is, you don't want to go up this track. So that was already bad. But let's just say the rest that you rolled, I'll go ahead and try to show as much of a distribution as I can. But each person has a little bit different die results that they can get. In this case, this is one that everyone can get, which is treating. You can treat a die, an infection die, in your area. So right now, blue is in America at the 1, and he can treat one of these by placing it in the treatment center here. Now, that's good for getting that basically takes the infection away from this location, and that's important, but that's one step of the process. Now, another thing that he could do, especially since he has this little thing right here, you can collect a sample. You can collect a sample from the treatment center and put it on your card. Now, the problem is that locks that die until you're able to try to cure that disease, which means you don't want to start locking up your dice until you really know you're going to really work on getting a certain one. But just for an example, I'll show that. Then the plane lets you move to any location. So he can just fly and say, you know what, I need to hop over here and take care of all these black diseases because there's 3. That's bad, because if there's ever more than 3 of a certain color in one area, there's going to be an outbreak. Outbreaks cause other problems, but I'll show that in a second. Then he has a special ability with this plus. He can spend it to set 1 infection die in his region, and now that would be the black area over here. He can set 1 infection die in his region or the treatment center to a cross and place it in the CDC. So he can say, you know what, forget that. We're just going to put this into a cross, throw it over here. Now that's how you'll be able to spend stuff here. So that's powerful. That way you can, not only do you get rid of it, but now it's over in a place where you can spend it for good results. That's great. And then if with his boat and with the slash and the infections and the treatment symbol, he can choose to either treat another die, or he can move by boat. And moving by boat just means you move to an adjacent area, so he could boat over here or boat over here if you wanted to. Now here's the thing. You can re-roll any dice you want except for the biohazard. So if he didn't want to do all that, he could say, you know what, I'm going to re-roll again. But if he gets another biohazard, you have to move this up again. And that's locked. So the more you roll, the more you take a chance of messing yourself up. Now, he has, I think everyone only has 1 in 6 chance of getting the biohazard symbol. I'm not doing so great right now, and that's a pretty bad start. And that's one of the things that's really dangerous. You're pushing your luck every time you roll. You might want to try to get a certain result, but you're taking the chance that you're going to have more bad things happen. But that's the name of the game. You're taking chances, trying to solve the problems. And as doctors, since they're they practice medicine. Yeah, we're practicing on rolling our dice and trying not to get bad results. So anyway, that's what's going to happen on your turn. You're going to roll your dice. You're going to use them how you want to use them to be the most efficient as possible. After you've rolled your dice and used them, you could give a sample to someone else in your region. So in this case, he's by himself. He can't give this sample to somebody else, so he has to keep it. The next thing he can do is he can try to find a cure with the samples that he has. So let's just say, hypothetically, he has gotten really lucky. Well, he couldn't have done this at the very beginning, but let's just say we're a little ways into the game, and let's say, I'll grab another red out of here to make my point. Let's just say he's got, let's say he's captured 3. He's got 3 of these samples. Now that's bad in one sense because now all these dice are locked up. So whenever his turn comes back around, if they're still sitting here, he can only roll these 2. So he's not going to have a very good turn. But at the end of his turn, this is the last thing that he can do. He can take these and roll all of them. And if he gets, these count as 0, the pluses do, that's unfortunate. But if your roll is 13 or more, whoo, so close. 12 plus 0 is 12. Yeah, but let's just say you would have rolled something like that. 13 or more, you cure the disease, and that is how you win. So you're trying to bottle up these samples and give them to somebody so that one person has all of a certain color. That way they can try to get 13 with that color. And if you do, you set it over here to say, aha, we've cured that disease. You would toss these and any other reds in here into the bag. And that means that suddenly you're one step closer to winning. And that does some other there's other benefits, which are now if there's multiple reds in a region and you use a treatment die, you'll move all of them to the treatment center. Now here's the thing, this can also be used to move a die from the treatment center to the bag, which is important. But if you've cured it, you can move everything of that color that's cured to the bag with one of these. So once something's cured, you can suddenly get rid of those dice really fast. So it's really important. The faster you can cure stuff, find a cure, the quicker you can start saving yourself from problems. Now here's the thing, at the very, very end of your turn, you have to roll this many dice. However far you are on the infection tract, you can take that many dice, you're going to roll them, and you're going to put them out in the locations that turned up on the dice. So at the end of every turn, you're going to be adding dice to the different regions. So that's dangerous enough. But if you move all the way up to here, you have an outbreak or an epidemic. This is outbreak. I'm sorry. If you have an epidemic, in an epidemic, you would take any dice that were here. Let's just say we went, oh wow, we're doing great. Look at all these dice we've moved in here. Well, now with an epidemic, you take these, everything in there, plus 3 dice for the infection rate. Oops, I got too many. So you take everything here, whatever the infection rate is, you take that many dice, you roll those and you set them out. Now if you happen to roll any pluses, they will go to the CDC anytime you roll dice to set them out into the different regions. So that's the good news is you could get lucky and actually get stuff to spend on these cards, but everything else is going to get tossed out here, and that is why if you start rolling a lot of biohazard symbols, you could end up having a problem, and we just have a very big one. An outbreak just happened. If there's ever 3, or I mean more than 3 of the same color in a region, an outbreak occurs. You move this little thing to the next spot, and as you can see, if you get here, again, you died. Too many outbreaks, you can't control it, everyone's dead. So whenever that happens, you take everything other than anything more than 3 that's there, and you drop it off in the next spot. So it's theoretically possible that multiple outbreaks could happen, because if you already had a bunch of yellows here for some goofy reason, then, which would be highly unlikely in this particular spot, but it could happen, then the outbreak would happen again and you'd move dice over here. You just keep resolving them as you go. And as you'll see, the farther up you go, if you ever get to this horrible point where you're rolling 5 dice, you have to roll 5 dice at the end of your turn and add them to the regions, and it just starts getting more dangerous as you go along. So the faster you can resolve these things, the better. Whew. Let me tell you, it can be very challenging, to say the least. I've seen some rather depressing moments, but these cards can save the day. For example, you can spend 3 of your plus signs to set 1, 2, or 3 player dice to any result. This can't affect biohazard results, but you can do this before you roll your dice. That's a great way to make sure you get a good roll and do some really great things on your turn. Or you might do this one, healthy population, for a cost of 1. That's not bad. Move up to 4 dice of any color from the treatment center to the infection bag. So if there's a bunch of stuff that's been treated and you're afraid of bumping up to the next epidemic level, you might do that to try to make it to where there's not so many dice that can get thrown back into the mix at the next epidemic. So there's a lot of things to think about. A lot of curing and cooperating, trying to maneuver your pieces, because each character, here's a good example. This guy, he's the medic, he's great at treating dice. I mean, wow. He has one that's a double, so he can treat 2 times, and he has a triple for treating 3 times. So he's great for trying to, get dice treated quickly and get stuff done. But you'll notice, let's see, who does he, oh wow. No, that's not a good example. A good example would be, this one. This one actually can do has 2 for collecting samples, which is important. So it's one of the important things is, given who you have working together most efficiently, send this guy out. He can fly over here and try to treat a bunch of stuff at one time. And then this person can actually dispatch people, help people go places with their helicopter dice. So that is, place your helicopter on your roll card as an airlift, spend it to move any number of players in a single region to any other single region at any time. That is huge. And then during your turn, move other pawns in your region to any other region for free. So this person helps get people where they need to go. So the dispatcher can help the medic get to places so that he can treat people like crazy. And then, of course, the contingency planner with he can help build a lot more here of the plus signs to buy more cards. So cooperation is key in this game. But generally speaking, that's how you play. You're trying to cure the diseases as quickly as you can. You're trying to hopefully not let the infection track get too high, because then epidemics will mean you'll be pulling dice from here and adding them even more quickly than just at the end of every turn, and then the outbreaks just make it even worse. So that's how you play. What do I think about this cooperative dice chucking game? Okay, so you have tons of dice. I'm a fan of dice in some ways I'm not. In some games, I feel like dice can add too much luck to the situation, but I will say in a cooperative game especially, I think dice work well, because obviously in a cooperative game, you're going to have some element of luck, because otherwise you could just figure it out for the most part. I mean, maybe there's some designs that have very little luck as a cooperative game, but I kind of doubt there's many, and I don't know of any, because, if you're working together, you need something that can just surprise you or ruin your perfectly laid plans. And dice do a good job here, because it's certain amount of thematic logic to it, because infections in one sense are random. Contagions and stuff like that, you don't know who it's going to pass on to. You don't know how fast it's going to spread. So that randomness of where they spread and how fast they spread, that is interesting and unique. And then having the pluses is a nice way of having the element of luck on your side. I mean, you don't know where they're going to go, but sometimes things don't go as bad as they could have, and that's what these pluses represent. And I like that. And the fact that, each character has their own dice that make them unique. The distribution is unique, and some of them actually have unique die results. I mean, there's things on there that no one else has, and that's cool, because it makes it to where you feel like whenever you have your character, you feel like you're special, you feel like you're powerful, and you feel like, I can do something that no one else can. I'm a part of this team, and I count. And that's an exciting element that, to me, makes this game really interesting, because, Elder Sign, I like Elder Sign. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I probably will sometime in the relatively near future. I like Elder Sign. There's a lot of die results, and you have characters in there too. But I never feel in there like your character is quite as unique as these are, and that's because the die results are unique for them, and they have a power. And pretty much some of them, the powers are directly related to the die result. There's special die results that they have, but some of them have a power that's unique in addition to whatever their distribution of the dice are. So all that makes each character feel so cool and exciting, and everyone just feels like they do something so important. And I think that's great. The components are awesome. I mean, I feel like the camaraderie combined with this awesome component appearance. Everything looks good. The dice are awesome. Everything just makes a very well-rounded quality package. So to me, Pandemic the Cure gets an 8 for me. Now, maybe it sounds like it should be higher on my list, and the only reason why it's not is a few things. The theme isn't one of my favorites. I usually do prefer, you know, fantasy, sci-fi, something that's not realistic. It's hard for me to get into the theme as much. However, I will say that I find myself more interested in the theme here than I think I would with the regular Pandemic board game, and I think it's because I just like the dice and the way they work with the theme. Dice just works for me. So, but still, the theme isn't right up my alley. The other thing is, luck can really bite you hard in here just because there's so many dice. Sometimes you roll a lot of biohazards and your turn is not that great, and therefore not only do you advance up the track towards having the next epidemic faster than you think you should, but then you also that also means that you don't have many good die results to use, so you're kind of like, oh, that turn wasn't that great. That doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen, and that's a little bit of a bummer for me, but obviously it's not much of one because I still recommend this game. I still think it's awesome because I feel like the cooperativeness is so great. You know, my wife and I, whenever we play this, it's funny because, you know, she's always the type that whenever she wants to re-roll things whenever they really don't go her way, she's like, oh, man, and likes to pretend like maybe I didn't see it, and so she can pretend like she can re-roll it real quick, and we have fun with that because, you know, it's just humorous. But yeah, the dice can mess you up, but that's the thing. In a game like this, it's kind of realistic. That's thematic. You don't know. You know, you're trying to cure diseases. You might have four samples that you've collected with your little vials here, and you might think, oh man, no doubt I'm going to get it this time, and then you don't, and you're going, oh my gosh, really? But that's kind of the way it works in the world of medicine. You're trying to figure it out, and you might have a lot of evidence of what you need to do. A lot of samples help you get closer, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find a cure. So again, thematically, it makes sense. Just because you have a lot of stuff to work with, it does not mean you're guaranteed. So the thematicness is impressive to me. I like the element of chance in this with this theme because it fits. Like I said, the components are great. Everything's awesome. I like the characters. So yes, the only thing else I would complain about is I don't think there's enough of the event cards. You quickly cycle through them and then, you know, see the same ones again, because it's, I mean, look how there's not that many cards. In addition to the 3 right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Not a lot of events, but that's okay. And there's not a ton of characters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. So, you know, you don't have a ton of that going on, but in spite of that, the replayability is still exciting because, you know, you have 7 different characters you could be, and the dice, the way they play out, make you change your strategy and how much you want to push your luck each game. So, still, really great game. Like it a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd appreciate it, and I'll get back to them and answer you as soon as I can. And, yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the next one, everybody, and take care. I'll see you then. Bye.